Hello everyone, it's part 2, roll the credits.
Hello everyone, this is Chammy Man 90. Ugh! Damn it, I can't see a thing in this.
And we continue from part 1 where Milo is now joined, not by an adversary, but really more by a friend of sorts, more an ally. And yeah, not very good of me to not wear the same clothes, but hey, whatever, this is YouTube, not Hollywood. Continuity can go fuck itself.
Kate, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say is that, I don't want this to be a debate about one individual. I think it's a shame that people give airtime to somebody, whose views and whose completely horrific statements have been so widely seen, and we should do no better.
It's good to challenge, though, isn't it?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Kate. Milo wasn't the one, for once, who didn't make it about himself. You two made it about him. You and the moderator and the audience made it about Milo. Milo was trying to answer the point. You were the one who started with the personal attacks from the get-go. So please, do not lecture us about making it about one individual who has really nothing to do with harassment on the internet and hatred of women at all. This is a man who's your opposite number, and you are just going off with the ad hominems and just basically being a bitch about the whole thing and then blaming it on him. Amazing. Amazing.
The point is that there is a huge weight of, and young women especially who go out and speak up online are facing a huge backlash, and I think it's very frightening. I'm often asked to do things like go into schools, and teachers always want me to go in and encourage young women to speak up and express themselves, and I'm forced to say I don't actually think that young women are stupid. I don't think that when they don't express themselves it's because they're all bashful and nervous and they don't know what to say. I think that they know what social media is really like. I think the facts are pretty plain to see.
View of women.
Enter the most based woman of 2016 so far. But before we get into her, yes, it is a very depressing view of women, one that I think is actually sexist and misogynist almost. I mean, to use their language, considering we can use misogynist for almost anything now. This is a woman who is all for female empowerment, all for women's rights, apart from men's rights and men's empowerment, but that's besides the point. This is a woman who's out there being told to go to young women and young girls and teach them about being out there, yet apparently is saying, you're better off not saying anything. I'm not going onto social media and speaking your opinions, because sometimes social media can be a very annoying and harsh and terrible place, sometimes, but not all the time. Never mind that Pew Internet research has just said that men get more harassment, therefore we should be more worried about airing our opinions and just ourselves in general on the internet. No, because there's a few trolls, because there's a few people out there, a few men who hate you because you're a woman, who hate you because you have this opinion, that you should not go and say what you want to say and just be silent or just not bother. That is depressing. You see, I think you have no idea what women of my generation, hell, even all women of your generation, know about social media. My generation especially knows social media. We know what it comes with, and we still go out there, and we still go on Twitter, and we still go and say our opinions, we still go out into the streets and protest. We know what we're dealing with. You show a distinct lack of awareness and knowledge of social media that belies not only your years, but also your experience. You are speaking as if someone has told you what social media is like, not someone who actually experiences it, which is funny because you do have a Twitter page, but it's obvious you don't use it that much, otherwise you would know what social media is actually like. But people, let us continue. I have wasted your time long enough.
And I think that that if we want young people to speak out and to feel comfortable expressing themselves, then what we need to do is make the internet a place where they can do so. That means bringing in sensible laws and training the police to deal with these kind of things. And there's a sort of echo in the background.
When she says at the end there about what is this echo, that's what she truly thinks about women who are saying a dissenting opinion. This woman is not the right kind of woman. For this feminist, this is what feminists actually think of most women. Okay? They don't care about women who aren't feminists, who are 80% of their population, by the way, they only care about themselves. They care about their own people, their own class. Because remember, most of these are like her, a middle-class woman with an education, with money. They only care about themselves and not everyone else. That's besides the point. Let's just get back on topic here. What she's saying is, in order to take a woman's opinion seriously, in order to truly bring them into the fold, even though they already are in the fold of public opinion and public discourse, anyway, and have been for a long, long time now, we have to make the internet a safe place. We have to make sure it's a safe space. We have to make sure that there are laws brought in and the police are trained to deal with people who you don't agree with, people who might make the odd insult, and to basically block everyone and to punish everyone for the crimes and stupidity of a few trolls and genuine misogynists. So, be gone with a free and open internet. Be gone with freedom of speech. We need to police the internet because my feelings have been hurt, and I'm going to project my feelings onto the rest of women because all women suffer exactly like I do. As if she knows how poor women, how women who aren't white, how women who are white but aren't like her suffer and feel. She can't speak for women, just like how I can't speak for men and other minorities. I can't speak for them, I can only speak for myself. So, because that's just bullshit right there, but let's continue.
Sorry a minute, and Connie, I'm going to come to you for a nice little bit in a minute.
We need the
Very
police
quickly.
to be trained how to deal with this. We need straightforward training on when to act and when not to act, to make sure that the worst things, the rape and the death threats, the horrific harassment and abuse is dealt with. And I think that when we see a few high-profile individuals, perhaps including some in this studio, locked up, it'll be time for other people to back off.
Okay.
Off to Gulag, Milo. Off to Gulag. All dissenters. That means me, my subs, hell, even her. She has to go to prison because she's got no platform before. So, basically, we have to imprison people for their own opinions in order for trolling to stop. You'll never stop trolling just because a few people are locked up. My country has got this completely and utterly wrong that you can arrest people and imprison them for trolling. It doesn't stop the problem. You remove one troll, 10 take the place. Okay? It's impossible. All you can do is teach people how to use the block button. As annoying as that sounds and as patronising as that sounds, it's clear to me that these people do not know how to use a block button unless it's a block bot where they just basically block everyone with a dissenting opinion or someone who's mates with a dissenting opinion. Because it's obvious they can't do it on an individual level. They have to do it on a collectivist level, which speaks a lot about them, doesn't it? But advocating censorship in order to make the internet a safe place. The internet is not a safe place. It never has been. That shouldn't mean that we should all be punished because of the crimes of a few people. That's like you're in a village and somebody kills someone. Therefore, everyone now has to have a hand chopped off. Everyone. Because of that person. That's stupid. It might be an extreme analogy, it might not be the correct analogy, but that's the only one I can think of. Oh, you've trolled someone, therefore he has to be blocked and put in prison. And that means any of you who say the exact same thing that he says, no matter how you say it, no matter how nice you say it, will be locked up too.
I very, very much look forward to that day.
All right, Milo, I'll come to you. Connie, I'm going to come to you in just a second, okay?
We're fucked. They basically applauded censorship. An advocation of censorship of the internet and of our lives. So, expect if this ever does happen, then some crying to us about censorship and how they're all getting locked up because the government now has the right and rule of law to go censor anything they don't like. It happens, people.
That's all right, and we'll have a... Yeah, you can. You were going to come back in.
Yeah, let me...
No, over here.
Someone has to reveal how very similar these two arguments are, because what actually both Milo and Kate are saying is that people can be made to feel victimised and very nervous and scared of the internet, whether that be men or women. But actually, I want to put, and it's both kind of very pathetic view of how people deal with insults and words, because really most people, especially on Twitter, when they receive this kind of
rape and death.
Rape and death threats are bad, but when they receive this kind of rubbish on Twitter, they block or they ignore. And I really want to pick up on this idea that women...
Please, Kate, let us...
It's very telling that's kind of, you know, this is what happens. Middle-class women decide that they want to take on the plight of women and that women are victimised, women can't handle the internet. It's absolutely ridiculous and disgusting and sexist and patronising.
What do I have to say there, other than I don't think that Milo's argument is similar, considering he didn't get a chance to say his argument. But, god damn it, when I first saw this on Sargon's video, I literally exclaimed to the heavens that I wanted to marry this girl. And I still do. If you're out there, please contact me, do anything. I'd love to take you for a drink because you are amazing. Anyway, yeah, she's right. She's right. How dare they patronise and put forth this sexist view of women and men? You know, it's stupid. And it's all down to middle-class white women wanting to make the internet a picket fence society, isn't it? You know, you know the type, the stereotypical 50s American thing, even though we're British, but we have our own type of thing there. But that's... doesn't matter. The analogy still rings true. And again, the moderator treats the women different than how he treats the men. Milo gets hounded and interrupted, and he just lets them do it. And then when the woman of the other end of the spectrum speaks, he tells them to shut up. He tells the feminists to shut up. Double standards, double standards. Doesn't even matter if it's our side getting the benefit this time. It's still a double standard.
To say that women can't handle the internet. The internet should never be a safe space. The internet women should be able to experience everything about public life. We fought for that throughout history, and here's somebody who wants to shut us away from it.
Okay, well listen, here's the plan. Here's the plan.
Marry me! Marry me! See what I mean? This right here is what I've been arguing for years. It's what I've been saying for years. They didn't fight for rights to be then taken away by a group of rich people because they don't like how they're now being treated. Women fought for this right to be in public life and to have their opinions held as an equal to men's, and now all of a sudden these feminists are going to take this away. But in a different way. But I wish I could get into this, but there's no point. We need to move on. But again, I agree.
We're going to go from Connie to Connie. We're going to hear Connie's story, and I'm going to get Milo to respond, and then Kate, we'll get another...
Please know more about these egomaniacs.
Oh, feel the burn!
Know more about egomaniacs as well. And any audience who want to say something? Okay, that's ideally how it's going to be structured.
They're laughing at you, not laughing with you, because ideally you should be able to do that without a second thought. But because you're a shit moderator, it's gone to shit. So don't try joking about your ineptitude. It ain't going to work. All
right. Connie, we heard reference to him and the whole situation, the saga there from Milo Yiannopoulos. Professor Tim Hunt, he made a really not very funny off-taste joke.
Not funny? Really? Let's just read a part of the manuscript then. And this is taken from Louise Mench's article on it by unfashionista.com. I don't know if this is her personal blog or a place she writes for. I don't particularly like her, but hey, whatever. Thank you. I say something about the importance and value of women in science. I also pay tribute to the capable female scientists I know, including name and name, by saying some nice things about them, and I now acknowledge the contribution made by female science journalists. It's strange that such a chauvinist monster like me has been asked to speak to women scientists. Let me tell you about my trouble with girls. 3 things happen when they're in the lab. You fall in love with them, they fall in love with you, and when you criticise them, they cry. Perhaps we should make separate labs for boys and girls. But if we had separate labs, men would be worse off for it. Now seriously, I'm impressed by the economic development of Korea, and women scientists played without doubt an important role in it. Science needs women, and you should do science despite all the obstacles. So, congratulations everybody, and I hope, I really do hope there's nothing holding you back, especially not monsters like me. Laughter, clapping. Laughter, clapping! They laughed. It was a funny joke to them. May not be a funny joke to you, but it was a funny joke to these Korean scientists, and it was clearly a self-deprecating joke. They were laughing together at him. He was laughing at himself and praising these women for the great job that they did for South Korea. So, please, don't say it's not funny when it clearly was funny to them.
And he did it in a was it a lecture hall? It was a room full of in South Korea. some would say it wasn't hugely offensive, got worldwide attention, ultimately nothing to do with you, but he lost his job, but you had drawn people's attention to it.
Now he's a liar. He had everything to do with her. She was the one who drew attention to it. She was the one who lied about him in the first place, which caused the biggest Twitter mob against a scientist since the Philae scientist, I keep forgetting his name, Dr. Taylor, since his hate mob because of his shirt, and it lost Tim Hunt his job, unlike Matthew Taylor, who thankfully kept his job. Thankfully, because the people he worked for have consciences. I can't believe what I'm hearing here. It had everything to do with her.
But then the reaction to your reaction was just extraordinary. What have you gone through?
So this has been really dreadful, and it's kind of exhibited here by the way Milo felt he could just shout abuse across the studio at me.
Construction of the victim narrative is already right before our eyes in effect. He did not shout abuse at her. In fact, he was defending himself by basically telling some truths at her. She's a liar. She destroyed Tim Hunt's career in Britain, and now we've lost one of our most brilliant scientists to Japan. And she's saying that he's shouting abuse. She was the one who shouted libel and defamation at him, which can be abusive. She said that he tried to get someone assassinated on the internet when he never did. Her and Kate were the ones shouting the abuse, not Milo. That's if you, of course, believe it to be abuse, because I personally just think it was a load of bullshit being interrupting Milo, basically. But whatever, let's continue.
And I think what's really interesting about this is that it's not about how people use the Twitter. It's about people trying to maintain a political status quo. So a lot of what goes on, there are people in America like Rush Limbaugh who have a very right-wing ideology, and that means they don't want to hear from women, they don't want to hear from people of other colours, they don't want to hear any other contrasting conservative view. And these people are very loud, and these people are very determined to shut a lot of people up.
I'm not denying that there aren't conservative people who are just as bad as these left-wing feminists, who want to censor people, who want to take away their rights to freedom of speech because they don't like what they have to hear. But the fact of the matter is, I haven't heard Rush say these things, and I've not heard others recently say these things. Recently, I've not heard it for a while. These people have been kind of a non-entity, a irrelevancy to this culture war that we've been in for a couple of years now. They're irrelevant to this. They've been consigned to the backwaters of history now, and long may they lurk there. And she's basically trying to create some kind of fake threat. She's lying, she's creating a smokescreen, an excuse so that they can censor the internet, and to basically say, look, people like Milo, people like the girl next to him, cannot say these things because right-wing people, conservatives, they're after us, they're after the coloured people, they're after the women's, when they're not anymore anyway, and they don't have the power to anyway, because they would, again, have a lot of backlash from people not just like us, the people who aren't like them, but also Milo would be one of the first people to help defend freedom of speech. But let's move on, shall we?
So I report something, I'm a journalist, I can report things, and in the end, in order to protect some stupid comment, then I have to be discredited. I don't have to be discredited, I did nothing wrong, I'm not a liar, I don't have to even defend myself as a journalist.
You're not a journalist, you're again lying. We found out what your jobs are. Aren't you a lecturer? Or something which you got through nefarious means anyway? You're not a journalist. You lied to people. You may have made like one article. Doesn't make you a journalist. You had barely anything of note until then. You lied. I've read the transcript there. You lied. You took him out of context. You lied to the people. You are not a journalist. And what you're really talking about is I don't deserve criticism because I'm a woman. I'm a woman of colour. I do not deserve criticism from you. I'm a feminist as well. Why should I have criticism for saying lies that I think are truths? I know I'm lying, but they're a truth, and you should listen and believe. You shouldn't have to criticise me. Get out of here with that bullshit, love.
I can put a story out there.
What
it
happened
was
to you?
correct.
What kind of abuse did you have online
So
through
I had,
emails? And...
I didn't just have abuse online. I had lots of letters sent to my office that were very racist. People would phone me up and scream really racist things. They would send me pictures of monkeys hanging in trees with saying, "Go back to your hut, go back to your jungle."
Ooh, a little bit of a faux pas there. So we're just meant to believe all this, are we? Please, provide us some evidence, please. But never mind, we just gotta just listen and believe. Listen and believe, people. Let her continue for a little while longer before we interject.
You're not welcome here. It's like we are back 50 years in the racial economy of this country. People are really crude, and it's very sad for people like me who've been here and you're trying to make things different for the next generation, and there's no change. This country is just as racist, just as white male privileged as it has always been.
Some people. These are some people. These are people who never say it to your face. They're keyboard warriors, aren't they?
Precisely, moderator. These are some people. Now look, everyone knows my race. I'm mixed race. I am part Trinidadian, Indian and black. So basically, I too can have a stake in this little debate here. And I can tell you, as someone who's younger than her, so therefore not had the racial experience that she's had, maybe when she was younger she did suffer a lot of racism. I assume she's about 50, 60. I can tell her that society is not like that. It has never truly been like that. It's never been like that. Yes, we had serious problems with racism in the 40s, 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and then it started to dissipate in the 80s and the 90s. And yes, we even had it even before then. I think you should watch a brilliant documentary called Mixed Britannia, which really shows parts of the problems that people like me had to deal with back in days gone by, even before those decades. But that's besides the point. British society is not like that. In fact, we've never had a racist problem like America had, like Zimbabwe had, like South Africa had, for example. We've pretty much had it easy compared to others. Therefore, the problem was solved quicker and easily. I'm not saying that there aren't racists. I'm not saying that society doesn't have problems. We still do, obviously. But they're not as bad as they used to be. This woman is lying. She is lying. And as the moderator says, this is some people. And she's basically judging the whole of British society, all white British people, because of the actions of a few people who sent her racist bullshit. You never mind the fact that most of the harassment she's talking about probably never happened, but the stuff that did happen, she's inflating, she is exaggerating and using hyperbole. And the fact that those people in the audience, white and black and Asian, whatever, could clap that to a well-known liar, to a well-known harpy who wants to censor the internet, wants to ruin their lives, someone who makes it worse for them and me and everybody else, is crazy. How can you applaud bullshit like that? It is evidently bullshit. It is patently obvious we do not live in a society where it's white male privilege. And besides, she's basically just written off white women as racist. I'm sure she must have got women who are racist towards her. And let's not forget that Asians also don't like black people. And vice versa. Isn't that insane? It's almost as if only racism can be a white problem. But hey, let us move on. That is a separate argument. But I just thought I'd put that in there because I'm pissed off with this woman.
It to your face, and they always say all these abusive things. They won't stand up and own their statements.
It's a minority of men.
And it's not about hatred.
It's a minority of men.
It's a minority of men and women. Racism is not confined to white men. It is confined to everybody else. I'm not saying that everyone is racist. I'm just saying that every race, every gender can be racist. This is not a problem that affects white males. Jesus Christ.
Hang on.
No, it's hundreds and thousands of men if you're trying to...
but there are millions of men, right? So
yeah.
Milo, I said we'd come to Milo. I mean...
There's tens of millions of men in this country. And yet, apparently hundreds of thousands of men believe that. I don't even think it's hundreds of thousands. I believe it's tens of thousands, if that. And it's shrinking. She's lying, people. Ignore her.
I know you want to respond to that, but you did this poll online.
Yes, I did.
What would you rather your child had, feminism or cancer?
Yep. And 22,000 people voted, and people voted in favour of cancer.
It's a good scientific thing.
What the statistics show us is that in just 2 years, the number of women who identify as a feminist in the US has gone from 28 to 18%. The number of British women who identify as feminists has slumped to an all-time low of 7%. Why? Because these are the kinds of representatives of feminism.
Again with the interruptions. Shut up, Kate. You know what? This should be a hashtag. Let's make a hashtag. We're not going to harass her or anything. We're not going to hurt her or anything. We're just going to say hashtag shut up, Kate, and see what happens. I don't know. I don't think we should really do that, but it'd be funny if we did. See what would happen. We'd get a load of shit for it, but it'd be some top kecks, wouldn't it? And now Milo will just continue with the based shit that he's saying.
Professional provocateurs who play the victim after the fact, and professors of science journalism who deliberately misrepresent statements by Nobel Prize-winning scientists in an attempt to end their career, who repeatedly lie to journalists, BuzzFeed, The Daily Beast, the BBC, all of them have had to issue
You're a liar.
All of them have had to issue corrections over statements you made.
People can just look this up.
And this, of course, is a professor of science journalism who fabricated her CV as well.
We have to get a response from that. Audience in a minute, put your hands up so I know where to come.
And the moderator stops him just when he was getting to another crux of the argument. This woman is a well-known liar. She did fabricate her CV in order to get jobs. So the audience now has to, again, if they could think for themselves and know it is a smartphone, look this up and see for themselves. It only takes 5 seconds. And they'd find straight away that she's a liar who can't be trusted. It's just interesting that the moderator stops him there after he was nearly interrupted again by these fucking feminists. Again, the moderator did nothing to stop them when he would stop Milo and the others from basically interrupting them. Double standards, as per usual.
If you're not going to let me make the case...
She has to respond to that.
Well, I am going to make specific accusations you can respond to.
Who cares about people throwing back accusations at themselves? I'm sure really not many people are interested in what's going on between you three. They're not, because, I mean, this is what people like this do on Twitter. They create a hubbub around controversial stuff. They say, this poll, if you're any kind of, like, intellectual person or with half a brain, you'd laugh at such rubbish. I don't, but I also don't want to... This is the whole thing about Twitter and the internet. If you're going to be a political person, and journalists are political people, you put out opinion there. And I often put out opinions that people find absolutely abhorrent and disgusting because they don't agree with me. And the emotional overreaction to that comes in the form of, you're fat, you're this, all horrible stuff. Yes, and it's unpleasant, but the whole point is, as you're taking that risk to step out into
from a tree.
Ella,
yeah, I mean, I'm not condoning this. I'm not condoning this. But what do we ask?
Before we continue with this, I'd like to say that I think she's being a bit too objective and a bit too, trying to be the third party here. Milo was doing this for a reason. He was saying this for a reason. One, because the lies are important. She's there because of abuse online, and because apparently her opinion carries weight when it doesn't at all. These things about her are very relevant. Very, very relevant. Very relevant. Because she made an accusation against Tim Hunt, and the big argument about those accusations, before they were proven to be false, when she said that he was sexist for making a joke, was like, oh, men are sexist, men in science are sexist, STEM fields are dangerous for women because of these attitudes. And then it was found out that she lied and she misrepresented what he said. These things that Milo talking about is very, very relevant. It's not like a Twitter argument from his point, from where he's standing. From what she's doing and what she's trying to say to him is like Twitter shit. So she needs to be corrected there. But apart from that, she's right. She's right that people shouldn't be over-emotional and take all these things seriously. And yes, she's not condoning behaviour, but you have to have a thick skin and you have to grow up and block these people. Because you're a public figure, you're gonna get shit. So she's right about that. But let's Let them continue.
Please, what
And
do
you
we
seem to
ask?
be saying
Okay,
that
Milo,
No,
Milo,
what
wait,
happens?
Connie,
Do
in
we
a
bring in-
second.
racism is on.
Do we
your
bring
point's
in more
taken.
laws and
Wait,
regulations?
Milo, a monkey hanging from a tree.
I'm being completely
These are all these
mischaracterised
pathetic
because
people.
I'm very much on your camp on free speech thing. It is
Milo, you're a
disgusting
liar.
and
Shush.
deplorable.
You are a liar.
Or it's disgusting and deplorable why anybody would want to send anybody that kind of racist abuse. It's awful. I would never want to be in the same room as somebody like that. However,
And yet they're your followers and
However-
your fans.
I'm more of an admirer of Milo rather than a fan. I don't agree with a lot of he has to say, and sometimes he pisses me off, not because of his opinions, but mainly because of the fucking stupid shit he can do sometimes. But hey, whatever. She's including me in that. She's including a lot of you. Some of you aren't white, some of you aren't even conservatives. Like me, I'm not a conservative. I don't know, I guess he'd call me a liberal or maybe a socialist, because sometimes I can get a bit more left-wing than a liberal, but that's besides the point. She's mischaracterising us now, because as Milo always says, a lot of his fans aren't even right-wingers. A lot of them are disaffected people like me and you guys who are sick of social justice warriors.
However,
And you don't even have
let's
the
hear the
It's not about you.
however.
By the gods, he seems to be doing his job for once. Well done, I guess.
However, I am not responsible for what other people put on Twitter. 150,000 people follow me on Twitter, 50,000 on YouTube, 75,000 on Facebook. I am
Yet
not
you've been
responsible,
unverified,
as
haven't you?
I am not responsible as a public figure for what a tiny minority of idiots say to people that I disagree with. Yet I'm held accountable for it in a studio, and I was accused of calling for someone's assassination. These are outright, incredible, galling lies from people who have a history of dishonesty.
Okay, Connie,
We've seen the tweet.
hands up.
Google it.
Connie,
It's
go
all
on.
over the web.
Yes, your
And-
fabricated
and-
TV is all over the
No,
web as well.
This is exactly what happened to Thunderfoot as well during the Laughing Witch scandal. They tried to get him sacked. They tried to get him arrested even, because as we know, holding Nazi beliefs and spreading Nazi beliefs is a crime in the Czech Republic where he works. He shows where she works and tells her, look, this shit could happen to you as you've done to me. Lo and behold, a few people take it upon themselves to write bad reviews about her place of work. Now, we all know that her place of work was going under anyway, but they then tried to say that that was a harassment thing and that he should somehow control what he and what his followers can do, not he himself, what his followers can do, and they tried to say he doxed her when it's not, because look, that is publicly available information. Anyone who knew her and knew where she worked could just go and find it and put it on a YouTube video. And besides, he didn't dox her, she doxed herself. This is how they found all this shit in the first place. That's the point. Public figures cannot be held accountable by what a minority of their fans do and say to other people unless they told their fans to do these things. But as we know, Thunderfoot and Milo didn't. Yet they're still being held accountable. This is bullshit. We wouldn't be doing the same things to them, would we?
It's Connie's
You
turn.
lied about your bylines, you lied about your qualifications, and you lied
Milo.
about Tim
Give
Hunt.
that
You
man-
Professor of Science
give
Journalism,
that
you should
man
be ashamed
chance.
of yourself.
Should we let Connie respond to that?
It's pathetic.
See?
It is pathetic, but you are the ones who are pathetic. You, the audience, your feminist buddy Kate, and the moderator are all pathetic because they've turned this into a laughing stock. This is a comedy routine, as many of my subs have said. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Milo is the one getting attacked. He is not the one who's pathetic. He has defended himself from ad hominems from you. You should be grateful he didn't go full pelt then.
I've got 150,000 followers in the audience who
Yeah, but your
agree with
account's
me.
verified, Nikki.
Connie.
So,
Yeah, and you got Milo unverified. It wasn't us, it was you guys.
Milo just called for somebody to be assassinated. Twitter essentially struck him
You're
off.
saying he didn't?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. What was the
they
tweet?
Of course, he's
What
lying.
was the tweet? What was the wording of the tweet? What did it say?
So actually, we don't need to believe everything he's saying.
What did it say?
There's a particular.
What did the tweet say?
Milo, let's hear Connie.
There's a
She's accusing me
particular
of calling for
kind.
someone's assassination.
You accuse her
That's
of
a crime. She should
manufacturing
justify
TV.
herself.
Okay, Connie.
Is a particular.
Well, I'm sorry, why should we let her finish? She wouldn't let him finish at all. Why should we give her that pleasure? And yeah, where is her evidence for this? Where did he say it? And why was his verification struck? It couldn't possibly be because feminists were lying to Twitter and trying to silence him. I mean, Verification isn't even necessary on Twitter, but whatever.
Kind of person that makes his money and his fortune on Twitter, and he wants to develop his public persona on Twitter. There's lots of people like him around.
How did he call for someone's assassination?
He called for it on a tweet because somebody challenged him.
Whose assassination?
And
What was the wording?
as a result, Twitter have unverified or
Not true.
de-verified
Not true.
him.
Total lie.
And they are now... You wrote
haven't got
about
to
it
be-
yourself,
Not true.
Milo. It's
Not true.
nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Nobody knows why he had his verification struck off. Nobody knows why. And again, please, give us this tweet. Give us this tweet. And he makes his money off of being a journalist at Breitbart. And who knows, maybe his YouTube channel is monetized, but he doesn't make it out of Twitter. He doesn't need to make money off of Twitter. He's rich enough anyway, even without the job.
It's just not true.
And this is... And
You
this
need
is
to
the
address
kind
the
of-
allegations
This
that
is
you
the
need to-
kind of person that has tried to make a fortune and their fame on Twitter because they're desperate.
What?
Exactly.
Okay.
So why do we care
And
about
What?
so my colleague in America, one of my colleagues...
Misogynism.
Are people just going to stand there and, well, sit there and listen to her and believe her? She's not even said what the wording is. Who the person he called for assassination. Seriously. But anyway, misogynism. Really, mate? I know he was trying to pose a question, but looked more like a statement to me. Jesus Christ.
Charles Blow is a very, very fine commentator on Annie Writes for the New York Times, and he wrote recently something, and as a result, he also got a death threat. And he said to Twitter, isn't it time you take some of these people off Twitter? And Twitter said, just contact the police if somebody shoots you. This person threatened to shoot him on Twitter. And people like Milo are those kind of people, and they need to be taken off.
Absolutely.
And they need to be taken...
That is outrageous. She is literally trying to conflate him and group him with people who send threats on the internet so that they can be silenced. So that Milo can be silenced. Isn't that insane? It's censorship because he's violent. I can't prove he's violent. I don't want to prove he's violent. But just ban him because I don't like what he has to say about me because he's telling the truth.
off by
Quick
Twitter.
audience, quick audience, quick audience, quick audience. So, gentlemen, please make it quick comments. We're coming to the end. Quick
Yeah,
comments.
I think ladies over here who suffered this abuse and all other women and men, and just
Go
for
to a
people
white
to say
man
things
again.
like, oh, just block them, just delete them, just ignore it. It's terrible. Like, they've been abused. They need to be held
And behind,
accountable for
don't
that.
Oh, look, Mr. White Knight, 40-odd years old, with his fucking Noel Gallagher haircut, or Liam Gallagher haircut, whatever, going, oh, but how dare you say these obvious advices that actually work? How dare you say that? They've been abused! These people should be held accountable. You do realise 99% of these people are anonymous. We can't prove who they are. We can't hold them accountable because we don't know who they are. All we can do is report the profiles, or maybe report the IP address, or email, and then hope for the best. You can't find them because some of them might be on VPN, so that means finding their IP addresses and etc. is going to be difficult anyway, nigh impossible. Yet, all we can do is prevent them. So block them, that's all we can do. Old people.
They're just words.
They're just words, go on.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, I mean, social media it really is just a petri dish of the entirety of society, really. But I have to say that a vacuous person like this is not representative of men on social media.
Never mind the fact that they've been lied to for about, half an hour? Really? And Milo's the vacuous one for telling the truth? Jesus Christ, what are some guys like? They didn't even check on their smartphones to see if this was true. Oh my god. These overcompensating because they don't want to look bad at the end of the day, isn't it?
But you know, Milo, you're a controversialist,
Controversialist or egomaniac. I mean, the point is,
But you defend
with
his right to be a
Twitter,
controversialist.
I defend anybody's right to say anything, and that's the important distinction between what I'm saying, what everybody else is saying, is that I think you should be able to say the most abhorrent, the most awful things, because words are words, and especially on Twitter. The only time I would ever be afraid of a man, or a man would ever intimidate me, is if he was threatening my life. physically. That can't happen on Twitter because it's just words. The amount of stuff that you get, death threats, evil stuff, block them. Be an adult. Are you a girl or are you a woman? Be an adult.
Okay. Yes, and might I just add to those two idiots, think with your brain and not with your dick. Thank you very much.
You have got about 40 seconds to respond, Milo, and get the last word in here.
Now, look,
This is a lot of accusations. It's time.
It's time.
Go.
Interrupting yet again because they don't get the final word, the final say to change people's minds. Ah, God. And he's the vacuous one. That posh cunt just said that he's vacuous. Really? See, I think both of them are posh cunts. But the thing is, Milo is not vacuous. He may be annoying. You may not like everything he says. But to say he's vacuous? No. No, I disagree. Especially two men in the audience. Those two cunts constantly lying about him, lying to you about events, and interrupting him and not allowing him to say his points. They're the vacuous ones, mate. And you do not represent me, or Milo, or the rest of men. You do not get to speak for me. How dare you speak for me? You've done the exact same thing you accused Milo of, and I know I should have said this earlier, but fuck these guys. Those guys are holding the human race back, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Lots of people talking.
This is very straightforward. Let's not make it about me. You've got lying feminists throwing accusations. Who cares?
Okay, now we've just been accused.
Let's not. The fact is that the research does not support the premise of this question. It does not support them. It does not support any of the stuff.
You just said lying feminists.
Internet abuse is a very real thing, and it silences women's voices. It makes women afraid to speak out, and there's so many important reasons why they should be able to. There are young people who have committed suicide because of internet abuse, and yet we have people here who not only support it, but who do it themselves.
Thank you.
How dare she use the deaths of young people who have been bullied to support this claim and then accuse Milo of condoning it? How dare she? That is just an accusation. She's just done what he accused him of. She's trying to defend herself and then she does it anyway. And they wonder why 18% of British women, no, 7% of British women, 18% of American women don't support them. Why this woman in the glasses, I keep forgetting her name. I should have read her name. I'm so sorry, whoever you are. I know you're not got everything right, but this is why you have to say these things. Because of her. Because of Connie. It's insane.
No. Look, thanks for watching. We will see you next week. Tweet away.
I tried to figure out what that audience member said, but I failed to really hear what they said. But whatever it is, it was funny. And then him throwing his cards in the air saying, fuck it. Yeah, fuck it. We're doomed. But you know what? If their minds could be changed by those idiots, then maybe we could change their minds too. But anyway, this has already gone over half an hour. I didn't want it to go over half an hour, but I didn't expect part 2 to be full of bullshit like the first one. In fact, it's even worse. So anyway, until next time, I'll see y'all later.